You're tuned into the SportsCast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the SportsCast. Tune into the SportsCast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
All right, guys, welcome in to the OutSpoken SportsCast. This is episode 81. We have Jeff. We have so much to talk about, buddy. Since last week, we've had just a hailstorm of information, news coming down, breaking stuff everywhere, and the spotlight of the week this week is actually the Von Miller blockbuster trade. It was the only blockbuster trade that happened in the NFL deadline. Before we start that, though, we've got a video of some live reaction to that trade.
Yeah, I'll play that right now.
Blockbuster trade going down right now.
Okay, so it involves Deshaun Watson?
No, it involves Von Miller.
Wait, what?
Broncos, according to Adam Schefter 1 minute ago, the Broncos are finalizing a trade to send Von Miller to
The Cowboys.
the Los Angeles Rams.
Of course they're doing that.
In exchange for 2 second-day 2022 draft picks.
Insane.
Miller is now saying goodbye to his friends in the Broncos training facility right now.
Let me just say this first.
Holy smoke!
Let me
Come
say
on,
this first
man.
blush.
Wow.
Let me say this first blush. Okay, I will say first blush. I've been around Les Snead. I know him. I'll just full disclosure. One of my favorite people on the planet, who I've known forever, because she was on the production side of things before getting on the air herself at ESPN as Kara Henderson. Mm-hmm. And so I've known her since the mid-'90s. And then she was the first on-air reporter and feature reporter for NFL Network. Okay, so I mean, I've been there. She's married to Les. So full disclosure, he's a friend and married to one of my favorite people on the planet. I've been around Les. He walks normal.
Yes.
Even though there are church bells involved. Okay. This guy is so amazing at what he does and is so aggressive. And I say, how many times do I say this on the air, on the show? And I will be consistent. I say it when I'm talking about the Packers. What are you thinking when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, right? I've been saying that for a while. You take a look at what the Bucs are doing right now with Tom Brady. You win when you can, and you back up your aggressive maneuvers with aggressive maneuvers on top of it. Certainly if 2 second-day, you said? Draft
2
choices?
second-day picks in 2022.
So that would be next year. Well, they don't have any first-day picks.
They don't have any
left.
first-round picks, yeah.
Because they gave him up for Stafford.
That's
and they gave him up for Jalen Ramsey. And so, all right, literally, it's not a problem to smoke him if you got him during the draft if there are two things. One, Your draft room is in Malibu, looking at the Pacific Ocean.
it's
it's a
a
perfect spot
great
to do.
point,
Okay,
great
I
point,
mean,
great point.
but that's not a football thing. That's not football. That's outside of football. But two, it does not matter if you smoke them, if you got them. In my estimation, on a Thursday and a Friday, if you got one in the case, and certainly it does not matter after those days are going to be difficult, but you've got the backing of your owner and team president in Kroenke and in Kevin Demoff and your coach. Go for it. Certainly, if you've got to go hunt down two of the most difficult quarterbacks to go hunt down when you need to hunt them down.
So,
All right.
so it was really the only trade, really blockbuster trade that happened, right? And I was surprised, and I said, "Wow, I texted you right away, Jeff, since you're a Broncos fan, and kind of was like, man, they traded Von Miller away. Like you said, there, Denver gets a second and third round pick for 2021, and then the Rams get Von Miller. Now, let's talk about the Denver side of this. Then we'll talk about the Rams side of this and go on from there. So, as you know, Von Miller is one of those guys that's after he retires, he's going to come back to Denver. He's going to be a Denver Bronco. He's that legendary there. Like when Brett Favre left Green Bay, we knew he was going back. He's a Packers for life. So is Von Miller. They got back great quality for Von Miller. Second and third for Von Miller, who is okay. He's still good. He's getting up there in age. This is a half a season. They had Von Miller for half a season, and they're getting into second and third for half this season, right? So, what are your thoughts, Jeff? I'm going to shoot it over to you since you're the Bronco fan here, and give me your thoughts about Von Miller leaving and playing for the Rams.
It's like a bittersweet thing. I think everybody's been talking about this. I wouldn't even say people were talking about this last year. A lot of people in the fan base, and whether it's stuff I've listened to, stuff I've read, people have been saying, oh, he's leaving. He's, they're going to get rid of him because they need to go ahead and cash in now. Couldn't last year. The injury that he sustained is kind of what ruined that. If not, I do think it might have happened last year. It's very possible. And knowing that his contract was coming up, I don't think Denver was going to sign him back. I think that was going to be this weird back and forth. He wants to get more money. Denver has money to give, but they're being extremely stingy about paying high, max salaries and stuff like that to players right now, because they are saving for a rainy day, so to speak. But this is by far the my second favorite player in Bronco history. My first obviously is Elway, and Von Miller would be next. When he got drafted, that was I immediately was like, there's something special about this guy. Like, there's something about this pick that just says a lot. That's something that we need to focus on and fix. And it was defense, and defense was, and it took a couple of years. It was not like it happened overnight. So it was one of the first times I got excited for a draft pick. I tuned in. I was like, this is great. Like, I looked him up. I looked his stats up. I looked the highlight videos up. I looked all these things. And so it was just, he was a player that kept me engaged there for a while when it was kind of in a dark, the team was in a dark place. We weren't doing anything. Like, it was just a bad overall. It was bad before we obviously got Peyton. But so does it, as a fan of the team, is this like, what was my first reaction? My first reaction was, of course. I wasn't shocked because if there wasn't any rumors about this, then I would have been. I would have been in complete and utter shock. I would have been like, what are they doing? Like, this is supposed to be the guy that's controlling the defense. This is supposed to be the guy that's the captain of the defense. Like, that doesn't make sense. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to be a Bronco for life. He kept saying that for years. So, in my mind, I'm going, well, like, but I've heard these rumblings for years now, and I'm like, I knew the trade deadline was coming up. I knew Denver needed to do something. I didn't know what they would do. We're not in the greatest position record-wise. We're 4-4, not good. Don't think, obviously, I don't know any fans who think we're going to Super Bowl this year. That would be absolutely delusional. If we even made the playoffs, it would be because Kansas City's horrible. Or Oakland just completely laid an egg. So it's just, if any of that happened, and that's a big if, I don't even know what that would do. Honestly, I don't think we're fully there yet, obviously. And this is a business move, and I get it. I think a lot of fans look at it like very, very emotionally reactive to it, kind of scratching their heads. But if you look at it from a business perspective, what will make this team better next year, the year after that, and the year after that, that's kind of what they're building towards. And I like what the general manager, Peyton, I like what he's doing. I like his strategy. He did the same thing in Minnesota. He's just stacked draft picks, and he was able to not only draft people, but obviously trade for other players. And so I think that's what the Bronco fans base needs to understand, is that this is not a reaction to a stupid Halloween party that somebody brought up. This isn't a riff between John Elway and Von Miller. Miller has he's lost the locker room. None of that. Von Miller's been having those Halloween parties for years. I mean, you can ask who's the Mr. Irrelevant that we drafted, and he just like randomly walks into someone's house.
Oh, let me bring this up real quick, because there was a stupid rumor about a Halloween party that we're like, oh, this is fake. But apparently it's not fake, because
No.
not that the Halloween party is fake, but apparently this Halloween party had some rift between the cost. I don't know. It was, what's his name? Noah Fant was talking about this and said it's sad that came out in the media, and I don't know. It's just a crazy story, but I don't think a Halloween party caused this either. This is something that happens. When smart teams do this, Jeff. Okay, you don't hold on to a guy. Look at the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger's washed, guys. He's washed. He's not good anymore.
He was filthy, but now he's washed.
Yeah, and morally, we're not getting into the whole situation, but they held on to him because he's been that franchise guy, and they brought him back this year when they could have let him go and probably been a lot better this year, or started something for the future. Von Miller, they know he's probably going to want another contract. He's not going to play to his ability that you're used to, just about. He's not the old Von Miller. Let's go ahead and get something for him. And the Rams gave up a haul for this guy. Okay. Now, from the Rams' perspective, one more thing to add about Denver real quick. My first thought was, are they saving those draft picks for Aaron Rodgers? Are they saving these draft picks to go out and trade for a quarterback? That could be possible. So I think getting a second and third round pick next season for Von Miller was fantastic for them. In my opinion.
And this is just, I mean, this is everybody. All the fan base knows that the fan base has done research on George Payton. Okay. This is the general manager. This is the person who came in and took John Elway's spot. And he's just known for that. He's known for building draft picks up and building a team from within the draft and doing it in a way similar to the way Bill Belichick's been doing it. Racking in draft pick, building a team around that, and then possibly even trading picks to move up or trading picks to grab a player or whatever. And I mean, it's a way to build a team in a way where you can at least control some of the narratives and then also save money. Because honestly, these rookies are cheap. And so if you can throw a million darts at a board and nail 5, great. I mean, that's really kind of the idea. You're not gonna hit on every single draft pick. It is impossible.
It's more darts to throw.
Right.
And that's what makes it interesting with the Rams. So let's get into them real quick. The Rams get Von Miller to add to a stellar defense. They gave up a lot for a rental. This is a rental right now. This is a half a season rental unless he signs back with them at the end of the season. Yeah. And he probably does with a chance to win a Super Bowl. They have a good chance this season. There's a lot of people that were like, "Oh, Von Miller's washed. He's old. He can't play." Well, let me tell you something, okay?
Doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be the Von Miller of the past.
Oh, no.
Like, that's the thing is, like, people are like, oh, my God, he's old. I'm like, do you have any idea who else is right next to him? I mean, this is a similar situation to happen with DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. When Von Miller went to the Super Bowl and won. Like, if you look at it, what?
Look at
what he's talking about.
Perfect situation here, Jeff. Clay Matthews. Okay. Clay Matthews was our Von Miller in Green Bay. Now Von Miller's better than Clay Matthews, but he was our great linebacker. Get to the quarterback, all that good stuff. He got old. He got slower. He got double teamed a lot. We sent him on his way. And then he goes over to the Rams with Aaron Donald. And guess what, Jeff? He has 7 sacks that year with the Rams. And everyone's going, why did Green Bay let him go? I don't understand. And I'm like, he's getting that because the attention's not on him. It's on Aaron Donald. It's on the Floyd. It's on other guys. So Von Miller is going to be able to eat. Von Miller has the most sacks in the NFL since he was drafted. His year he was drafted since then. And Aaron Donald has the most sacks since he was drafted in that amount of time. You got 2 of the best players that can get your quarterback. They already, Jeff, get to the quarterback at, I think, the best rate in the NFL this season.
I'll say this much. If anybody remembers how dominant the Bronco defense was back in Super Bowl 50, how dominant they were throughout the season, and picked up Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning was just a shell of himself at that point. It didn't even matter. How did you win a Super Bowl without even throwing a touchdown? It's crazy. With all that being said, look how that defense was constructed. Look at the front of that pass rush. Look how that pass rush was built. Now look at the LA Rams. I'm telling you, this is a mirroring image of that defense. A mirroring image. The difference is now you got a quarterback who's not Peyton Manning that's kind of limping in, because he's hurt and he's trying to will his team to get to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. And Matthew Stafford, who is in a better position age-wise, better position overall to bring this team offensively to the next level. The Rams, as much as I don't want them to win, because luckily we have 2 picks they have, great. But if they win, then they're high picks, but still they're picks. But this is the most dangerous team in the NFC, if not the NFL, by far. If we see what they do to Tennessee this Sunday, look out. Like, this is insane. This is insane.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go off the Tennessee game because Tennessee's done. We'll get into that a little bit later. But
I mean, how bad they beat them. If they beat them as bad as I think they might, I don't know any team who can stop this defense. Like, it's a scary. You're going to have to double, triple. I mean, how are you going to stack up?
You're gonna have to get the ball out of your hands very quickly.
I mean, really
Very
quickly, really quickly. We're
Um,
talking the fastest anybody's done it. Like it's like snap, throw. I mean,
when we have a trade like this, I like to ask the question of who won this trade, and quite frankly, this is a win-win for both teams.
it is.
The Rams got better on defense, and the Broncos got great value for a rental. So, and this is a win now move for the Rams, and we're gonna jump into them real quick because the Rams run their team like no one else does in the NFL. Okay, they haven't had a first round pick since 2016, and they use that on Jared Goff. And where's Jared Goff now? He's with the Lions. So they trade away first round picks to get Jalen Ramsey, players like that. They trade away those picks to get players, to veteran players that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing to win now. And I love the win now mentality. I think a lot of fans like that, and that's something I question about my own team in the past. You know, when we had McCarthy, where's these win now moves? Why aren't we trying to go all in? We have Aaron freaking Rodgers here, okay? And I'm not saying what the Rams are doing is right. I mean, I like to have draft picks and to have a future, but they know their windows now. They got Matthew Stafford, and I like this move. I like this pick. It's going to be interesting to see, not this pick, sorry, this trade. It's going to be interesting to see how this hurts the Rams in the long run, though. If they don't win a Super Bowl, was this all for naught? Because if you don't win a Super Bowl in the end, you're totally just banking off your future. I mean, you're just taking away from that future. And look, next season, Jeff, they have a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th round pick. That's it. They don't have a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd.
And those will be traded. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, they don't have those. And
At that point, I would just trade them. I'd be like, we're not even going to pick. I mean, come on, just do it.
And when you think about it from a head coaching point of view, it's genius. Your head coaching is only there for a couple of years, right? Unless you win a Super Bowl, then you know that gives you some credibility, and that gives you some well, I guess unless you're the Eagles, it gives you, where you can stay there quite a long time, like Mike Tomlin and these coaches have been there for
Bill
a long
Belichick,
time.
his 2 years has been a long time.
So, but a GM's job is to win now and the future, and that's a fine line, and it's hard to do of knowing when your team's ready to win. And building your team, we talked about this, I think, with Denver not too long ago, is building your team correctly. You build a defense up too high, and now you don't have an offense,
right?
And it's hard to win. If you have a quarterback but you don't give him a good defense, it's hard to win.
What's weird and interesting is that I've listened to a few other people on podcasts say the same thing. I think that they built. John Elway was like, "Oh, we're all we got to do is," because he looked at what happened in the Super Bowl. And so the first time we went to the Super Bowl with Peyton, we had the number 1 offense in the NFL. We were breaking records. It was absolutely insane. We put 7 touchdowns against Baltimore in week 1. And I think we broke a record or something, which is nuts. 7 touchdown passes by Peyton Manning. So when you put all that into perspective, okay, and the Broncos look at it and they go, "Oh, well, this is great. This is working. Let's do it." We get to the Super Bowl and we get completely owned by the best defense in the NFL. We didn't have a very good defense that year. And I remember thinking, we got Von Miller. What, how do we not have a good defense? And what they did is they built the offense up by adding Peyton Manning and the pieces around him that were already there. And then when they did that, the following couple of years, they added more pieces to the defense. Aqib Talib. They added DeMarcus Ware. They added all these other pieces that just complemented each other and complemented that offense. And then we went to Super Bowl 50. Peyton did not have a great second half of the season. He got injured. Then we had I can't remember the guy that replaced him for a couple of games. He actually won those games. But again, that defense really is what helped them win those games when Peyton was out. And Peyton didn't have to be. It was the threat of Peyton. That's what it is, guys. It's the threat. It was the threat of Peyton Manning. And in that Super Bowl, they thought, okay, even Peyton Manning at 70% can beat us. And now we got to worry about this defense. Like, this is nuts. And so I think what Elway thought was, it was the defense. It was the defense that won the Super Bowl that year, but with the threat of Peyton Manning, with the defense on the other side going, at any moment, this dude can smoke us. And if we allow him to, that could be the end of the game, the way this defense is playing. And so I think with Elway, he tried to build the team like that, building on the defense, worry about the offense later. And that's hard to do. You can do it, but it's not easy. And it's hard to do that with a player like Von Miller, who's at the tail end of his career, who is wanting to get paid more. Obviously, he's a cornerstone piece behind the defense, but you do have that health factor. You do have that age factor that plays a role in that as well. And John Elway and them and George Payton, they see that. And, it's like you got to figure out what you need to do to really fix this team. And obviously the John Elway way hasn't worked since the Super Bowl, since Peyton Manning retired. And in a lot of ways, Bronco fans are frustrated because in a lot of ways we kind of wasted away a couple of years of Von's career that we could have easily, maybe had not had a good season and then went and got a quarterback or tried to go and do something to bring a quarterback piece into the team and then go from there. But instead we missed on so many of them. We brought in a couple of free agents that didn't pan out. And throughout that time, Von Miller's his career just kind of, it was wasted years, and it's not what he wanted, but it was John Elway's vision and it just didn't work. And I think George Payton's vision is let's build the offense up and add pieces here and there for the defense, because I think the core nucleus of this team is young, and I think they have the pieces in place. You just need a few more to kind of solidify it, especially on the offensive line and quarterback situations. And then the defense, I think, is getting there. We do have awesome pieces that will replace Von Miller. Not to say that they're going to be better than Von Miller, but we do have quite a bit of pieces. And as long as Bradley Chubb is basically going to be the replacement of Von Miller, and as long as he's healthy and stays ready to go, which he was healthy last year. I think this year it's something happened in the offseason or in the preseason. But other than that, I think Bradley Chubb will be a good piece. Malik Reed's another one that's a huge thing. Shelby Harris is another one that's right there as well. And you add that with Patrick Surtain, second, and Justin Simmons, and you just, there's a few more pieces that solidify this defense. We're not there yet, but we're not far off. That's the thing. And I think a lot of Bronco fans are like, blow it up. This is a rebuild. And I'm like, no, it is not. Are we rebuilding?
You need a
but we're not going to blow the team up because of Von Miller. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a rebuild. I would say it's just a revamp. You've got players there, like you said, on defense. You're still a good defense. I mean, I think it's hard for a defense to continue to stay to win. It's hard for a defense to stay motivated when they know their team isn't going to score more than 14 points a game. That's very difficult. You've got
they're on the field more. They're on the field more. They're gassed
they're
by the end of the game.
and
that's what happens. That's what's happened almost every game this season. That defense is gassed by the end. And so a lot of people are like, why do they give up stuff at the end? And I'm like, they've been on the field 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Like, and these guys I get they're young, but my God, you can't do that all game. Like that's crazy.
You've got wide receivers. You have Jerry Jeudy, who's back this week, right?
Yep.
Jerry Judy's back. You have what's his name?
Cortland Sutton
out there.
Mm.
You got a good running back you just drafted this season. You just need a quarterback. And in this league, Jeff, if you don't have a quarterback, then you're not winning. And that's just the way it is. Unless I mean, the Bears did it. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they got there with Rex Grossman. But you're talking about an all-out defense and just enough on offense. It's just not going to happen. And with the way teams are scoring nowadays, it's very hard to do. And don't get me wrong, it's very hard to find a quarterback. Green Bay's, we've struck gold twice. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and we're hoping to strike gold again with Jordan Love. But you just need a quarterback, and that's why I said Aaron Rodgers will be your quarterback next season. Now, I hope not, but that's a Super Bowl team next year. If they
that's
have,
the rumor, and
Rodgers.
the rumor is still going on that's the case. That's what the Broncos are doing. It wasn't the only player they got rid of. They did get rid of a defensive player that I've never heard of before for a 6th round pick. I don't remember who we traded him to. Eagles or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so it wasn't just Von Miller, but I mean, Von Miller was obviously the mega one. But I believe, as much as it pains me to see Von Miller leave, he will come back. He will bring in the Ring of Fame. He will be, he will retire. The Broncos will retire his number. By far, if not the most iconic Bronco player ever outside of John Elway that I can't even think of. Nobody is to that level of Von Miller. Popularity wise, fan base love him. Nobody said a bad thing about him. He had the locker room. He had the ownership loved him. The guy was charitable. He had stuff. He has a farm here. The dude was just by far outside of Elway the most iconic Bronco I've ever seen, and most people probably would say at that point. You maybe give a couple of players here and there, but that are around the John Elway era, but still, he's just an iconic player, marketable. I mean, the guy was just, it was an interesting player, and it sucks, and it's a horrible thing, but I believe in George Payton's methods. I like what I see from him. I like how he drafts, even though I do think, as much as everybody got frustrated that we didn't draft a quarterback, I would have, if we had passed on Patrick Surtain II, it would have been frustrating because I think that was a huge problem last year. Cornerback was a real bad issue, and we just got a young, very talented cornerback, and that's going to be here forever. And if anything, he's going to be a very much like an Aqib Talib type person. Maybe not personality wise, but he's going to have that work ethic, that drive, that attitude on the field. And right. I don't think he'll
be a lot down corner in a couple of years. So,
oh yeah, and you're already starting to see it. So he's getting better each game, and I'm like, okay, I'm good with that, because ultimately, if George Payton is like, we're going to draft a quarterback, I'll pick, not Elway. My guys will pick. Then I'm glad with that. I'm okay with that. And then obviously, if he wants to go ahead and get rid of a couple of pieces to grab a franchise quarterback, I'm fine with that too. And I like his method. I like the method. It seems to work. Some of the draft picks he picked this year, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Devontae Williams is a sleeping giant. We just need an offensive line to help open up the holes for him. I can't even imagine how off the tackles and stuff that he does, and that yards after the tackle is just ridiculous. So that's one, and I like his method. Fans don't need to worry. Ultimately, I mean, oddly enough, Von Miller has a YouTube channel, and he was talking about at the end, he goes, well, don't say never on me not coming back. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so all the fans are like, what does that mean? It's like, I mean, hell, if he comes back after winning a couple of championships,
he could come back next year.
The Broncos got 2 picks, and they got him back for like probably nothing, dude. Because if he wins a championship, he's not going to ask for much.
He could come back next season. All realistically,
yeah, he could. I don't know if the Broncos. I don't know if the Rams would be dumb enough to not sign him to at least a couple of years, if not 3, just to kind of lock that in because they did give up 2 picks. So that if they didn't do that and he did come back to Denver, then that organization, something's wrong.
It would be become a bad move there. I would like to see, if y'all don't get Aaron Rodgers and you go to draft a quarterback, the problem this season is there's not a lot of great ones coming out. Like this last year, there was like 4 or 5, 6. You're like, okay, these guys can make it in the NFL. But there's a guy out of North Carolina named Sam Howell, and he looks to be pretty good. He's not a number 1 draft pick type of guy, but I think he's got a future in the NFL, and he can make those throws. And so I'm interested to see what y'all do. Like I said, if it works out, Aaron Rodgers goes this next year. Now, look, I'm a Packers fan. Don't get me wrong. I want Aaron Rodgers back. At some point, we will have to move on, and I've already told you guys I believe he's gone into the season.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing with Von Miller is the writing was on the wall for years, and I'm like, okay, I'm coming to grips with it now, so that when it does happen, I'm not like, freaking out and not knowing what to do because it's like, oh well, great, where are we going? What is this franchise? Where are we headed to?
But if Aaron Rodgers goes there, that's one team I could root for next season to win because I want to see him get more rings, and they got a good team. So, and
honestly, they did. And I know a lot of fans get frustrated, but they did right by Vaughn. I mean, like, look where he went. Yeah. It's not like he got traded because I know that George Payton said there were 2 other teams, one of which is Dallas. Dallas called, and another one probably was, I don't know, maybe
the Raiders.
Probably we would have never traded him there.
We traded Brett Favre to the Jets. So, you did better than what we did when we kicked out our legend. But it's interesting to see how the Rams run the organization, and we'll see at the long run if it pays off for them. But that's going to end the spotlight of the week. That was the blockbuster trade that happened, and I was like, man, and I'm more mad at the fact that he went to the Rams, and they already have a tough defense. We got to play in this season, maybe in the playoffs, and I'm just like, man. So
my dad's not worried.
Oh yeah, he thinks the Cowboys are going to go undefeated the rest of the season. So, which y'all do play the Cowboys this week, and it'd be great if your team
any given Sunday. There's always an upset. So I'm right.
Yes, this would be one of those upsets. All right, Jeff, we got the top games coming up, and then we got headlines for you.
All right. Are we going into...
Well, I got the top games, then we can jump into the headlines. I didn't know if we had to fit that little...
That's for headlines.
Okay. I didn't know. Last time we did it before. Anyways, whatever. The top games this week. Look, the Chiefs and Packers are going to be the number 1 game. Aaron Rodgers out with COVID. We'll get into that here pretty soon. The Chiefs and Packers are still a good game. And you got the Chiefs drama this season. They haven't been as good. Patrick Mahomes throwing interceptions left and right. The defense is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Okay. You got Green Bay. They're great. They're 7-1, looking to keep that number 1. We have the number 1 seed right now in the NFC. We're looking to keep it. Aaron Rodgers out. But this game is huge for us because, and I know a lot of people in the league, we want to see what Jordan Love can be. We want to see, I'm actually excited to see what he looks like in an NFL game. I'm mad that Aaron Rodgers is out, but I put that aside. This is going to be our future quarterback. I'm going to hope that he is good. You don't want him to fail, obviously. I'm hoping to see some things out of him. Do I think he's going to come out here and throw for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns? No. But I'm hoping he can be competent enough. I think he'll probably throw an interception in the game. I'm hoping he gets a couple of touchdowns. I'm hoping we win. I have us losing this game. It's on the road against Patrick Mahomes, and I know they're not playing well, but you can never count those guys out. They're desperate to win to get back ahead of that division. I got the Chiefs winning this game, Jeff. How about you?
I got the Packers winning this game. Personally, I say it because
I like it.
I don't trust the Chiefs until they prove me wrong. They have not been playing well at all. I know the narrative is, well, it is what it is. He's a human being. It's like, hey, I get it. But this continues, something's wrong. Period. Like, I know people have off years or whatever, but if this continues and continues throughout the season, and somehow this team does not turn it around, Patrick Mahomes does not play better, defense doesn't play better, what's the excuse now? Because the excuse was, they'll turn it on, they'll get it going. Well, everybody's waiting for that, and it hasn't happened. And I understand but again, if I see more of that, then obviously people have learned something about him, and people can exploit it. And that's exactly what's happening. So no, I do not trust the Chiefs until they can completely turn it on like they did before in the past. So I'm going to go with Green Bay strictly on. I don't trust the Chiefs playing like the Chiefs we know, like the way we know that they can play.
If we had Aaron Rodgers, I'm picking the Green Bay to win this game. We don't, and I think that's going to be a big thing for us. Now we do have Devontae Adams back. We have Bakhtiari back. We have our starting wide receivers. So we're going to be able to see what Jordan Love can do with our starting cast. And that's the only reason I'm choosing the Chiefs is I don't know. But like I said, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to come out desperate. We've got to be able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes and keep those big plays from happening with Tyreek Hill in the background, in the back or on the deep down the field there. But, we also have Alexander's out, our shutdown corner. We also have a lot of injuries on this defense, but we'll see what happens. We've been playing really well in the defense despite those injuries. But our next game, Jeff, was the Browns and Bengals. Both last week kind of lost their edge. The Bengals lost to the Jets. That was a bad loss. The Browns lost to the Steelers. And there's been some Brown drama going on. We'll get into that in a little bit too. But I think the Bengals win this one. I think they can jump back on course here. Joe Burrow's way better than Baker Mayfield. I've got the Bengals winning this one, getting back on track. I think the Browns are going to have some issues, Jeff, on figuring out if Baker Mayfield's that guy for them, because I don't think he is. And I think this is where we might see the Browns. Look, I had high hopes for them this season. I projected them to win their division. They're 4-4. They're not. They are not doing good. And this team's too talented enough, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they have two great running backs, and they had Odell, but he's gone. I think it's where the Browns kind of falter off and kind of go into just a losing streak and then I think Baker Mayfield's out. I don't think they're going to sign him, but anyways,
I agree.
Who do you think's going to win this game?
I agree. I do think Bengals will win this game. OBJ is out, obviously, going somewhere else. They did cut him, which is nuts. Not that it's nuts that they cut him. Well, it's nuts that they cut him.
Too far into it. That's a headline.
But
I think so.
but besides the point, I just think that the Browns, there's something going on. It sucks because you thought the way they played last year that they were back on track to do something special, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I think Joe Burrow is starting to kind of become his own, come into his own at this point now with the Bengals, and they're starting to kind of gel together. I think that's why we're starting to see them kind of take off. So I will say continue with that trend, and I will go with the Bengals on this one to take out the Browns. And Baker Mayfield, it's prove everyone wrong. Let's if the Browns win, I'll be very surprised. And if the Browns win because Baker goes off, then the teams, I wouldn't necessarily get rid of them. So, but yeah, if I was betting, I'd go with the Bengals.
All right, we got Ravens versus the Vikings on this one. The Vikings are desperate for a win. Okay, they just lost to a backup Cooper Rush. Oh, pathetic. Their quarterback or their coach has lost his team. He'll be gone at the end of the season, and even he
absolutely pathetic against the Cowboys.
He had another coach come out and said, "We've got to coach to win games and not be coach to try not to lose him. So even his coaching staff's turning against this guy. But you got the Ravens on the other side. I got the Ravens winning this one. I think the Vikings continue to downfall. And they're good defense. Are they going to be able to slow down Lamar Jackson? And look, the Vikings are too good on offense, weapons to put up 13 points last week. So it's pathetic there of the Minnesota, and I got Ravens winning this one.
And I'm going to say this much: with Minnesota, is it just me, or does Kirk Cousins just look like he's out there? It's just like, well, I'm out here, did my job. I'm going to go back to the sidelines now. Like,
Kirk Cousins is a weird one because his numbers say he's been a decent quarterback.
Yeah,
but he doesn't win.
It's not inspiring. It doesn't seem like he's at the end of a play, like, like you see that with Rodgers sometimes. No, he's just like, oh, time for me to go. Like, and it's just like he goes, he clocks in, he clocks out, he goes home. Yeah. And it's just like nothing there. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm getting paid. My stats are good. That's all that matters. We're not going to Super Bowl. Who cares?
I think the head coach is gone from Minnesota next year, and I believe, I'm not mistaken, Kirk Cousins' contract's up, and I think he probably goes too.
Yep.
Who you got winning, Jeff?
I got the Ravens winning this one. The Vikings are just an uninspiring pile of mess. And they're just the fact that they lost to a game last week. Come on.
I was mad because the Cowboys are fighting for the number one spot with Green Bay, and I'm like, the Vikings couldn't beat a backup quarterback.
No,
my goodness,
no, they couldn't, and it was just ridiculous, and then just sloppy defense too, and so it's just kind of like, towards the end, it was just sloppy defense.
That tackle on or try to tackle Ezekiel Elliott with 4 guys, and you can't bring him down. Like, it's
just ridiculous. This team is absolutely horrible. I did not trust it. Ravens, go out there, destroy them, and then end this entire nightmare for the Minnesota fan base. They can move on from all this crap.
You know who they are, Jeff?
What?
They are the old Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about old like in the 90s when they were in the Super Bowls. I'm talking about they're the team that's talented, but they always lose. They're too talented to lose, but they find a way, and that's this team. They've got to be the most frustrating fan base to watch this team have such good weapons and not do anything. So the Ravens will win this game.
Put them out of their misery, Baltimore, and end this nightmare for that fan base. Just end it. Get out.
All right, Jeff. We got the Titans versus the Rams on this one. Rams all day. Rams all night.
Who is picking Tennessee in this entire, come on.
Well,
you got to be
Derrick
kidding
Henry.
me.
I would give them a chance with Derrick Henry. They don't have a chance.
No, it's done.
Let me tell you this, Jeff. And you can I don't know if you're going to call this a bold statement, a hot take. The Tennessee Titans are done. Derrick Henry's out. They are done. Stick a fork in them. They went out and got Adrian Peterson, who's 36 years old. Okay. They're done. End of discussion. This team relies on Derrick Henry, and Tannehill's looks good because of Derrick Henry. Now it's all on Tannehill, and he cannot carry this team.
This game's over, guys. This isn't even a joke. This is probably going to be what's going to be fun is to watch Von Miller play for another team and see him sack somebody. He'll probably give a mile high salute when he sacks him, I'm sure, just to kind of, kind of say hello to the fans or whatever. And I get that. But yeah, this game's over. It's done. Chalk it up as a win for the Rams. Good luck, anybody who goes against them this year. It's going to be a nightmare to have to double team and triple team 3 pass rushers. So it's easy, not even close. Tennessee, go home. It's done. It's time to pack the bags and go back and to go to the drawing board for the offseason. You might as well just do it now.
There's this funny TikTok video. Speaking of TikTok, guys, we are on TikTok at the OutSpoken SportsCast. I pitch you out my predictions every week on Thursdays. I'll put a couple different things. I did one on. We had so much news this week, Jeff. I did one on the Gary Patterson out in TCU, how they did him dirty. But there's this guy on there who's funny as heck with football, and I forget his name, but he brings in like Mike Vrabel. He calls up Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel walks in. He's like, "What's up?" And he's like the NFL therapist. He plays the NFL therapist, and he's like, "You want the bad news, the worst news, or the horrible news?" And he's like, "Man, I got to select from that." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's the bad news?" Bad news is you play the Rams this week. And he's like, "Oh, Vrabel's like, oh, we play hard teams all the time." The worst news, or it was the horrible news. He's like, "What, the horrible news?" He goes, "The horrible news is your family just got in a car wreck." And he's like, "Oh, that sucks, but are they gonna be okay?" And he's like, "What's the worst news?" And he's like, "The worst news is Derrick Henry's out for the rest of the season." And he's like, I'd rather get hit by a bus or whatever." It's pretty funny.
Oh man.
Anyways, sorry, that Batman reminded me of that. All right, Jeff, let's jump into the headlines this week. Usually we give you 5, but we got about 8 for you because there's so much information.
All right, headlines of the week.
All right, guys, this first headlines could have been the spotlight of the week. It could have been. It's been all over the place. It's still going on. Aaron Rodgers is out versus the Chiefs due to COVID. He will miss 10 days. The biggest uproar was we thought he was vaccinated, or most people did. I didn't really care if he was or not, but there's a video they went back before the season started. They asked Aaron Rodgers, "Are you vaccinated?" And he said, "I am immunized." He didn't say he's vaccinated. Everyone says he's a liar. He's getting killed by the media, Jeff. There's 100 ways to go on this. I'm gonna let you talk first. I want to get your opinions on this before I start about it. So you go ahead and tell me what you think real quick, and then I'll jump on.
Oh, it's tough because it's like, okay, I get why they want people to be safe on the field. You're playing with a bunch of people with very physical and very contact heavy sport, so on and so forth. It's a little different, baseball, I think, is a little different. I think that you're not really in contact with a whole lot of people. Basketball it's the second football. So I get it. I think it was maybe he looked at it like I've been told that I am asymptomatic, and he's like, even if I did get it, I wouldn't be sick. It's just a slippery slope because I mean, you have the NFL that has their protocol, and that's their protocol now, and whatever. But on top of that, if something was said and it wasn't true, and I get that Tom Brady, the same thing happened with him, or something like that. It was something similar to that. Like when we found out that he was
at a park.
He was
supposed to be on lockdown,
right, and he had it or something, didn't he? Or did he not have it?
No, he didn't have it. It was just that he was breaking protocols on,
So, so it just like, it's hard to really understand what went on here. Really, it's kind of like, I don't understand. Did he lie? Did he tell the NFL that he was good to go? Did he tell the Packers he was good to go? And then come to find out he wasn't good to go?
See, that's not the story at all.
Okay.
And that's what they lead you to believe. Okay. Here's the story, Jeff. All right. They asked him if he's vaccinated, he said he was immunized. And the reason he did that is because he does a podcast show with Pat McAfee every Tuesday. And this Tuesday, he answered questions on, obviously, this big ordeal. Now, he listens to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he did some alternate. He didn't get vaccinated, but he did some alternate things to boost his immune system. Because what do you do when you get an infection or whatever? You want a good, healthy immune system, right? So he did that. he fought for he fought to be considered as a vaccinated player because he wanted to, have a normal life this year going into the season. The NFL denied it. And there's actually, and I didn't know this until yesterday, Jeff, when I was listening to the Sports Talk Radio and Ben Maller actually. And if you don't heard that guy, he's freaking hilarious, but his show's on late. And he said there's a clause in the NFL COVID rules that states if a player's I think it's white blood cell count or something to do with their blood cell count and their immune system is up to a certain level, up so high that they can actually be considered a vaccinated player because their chances of getting COVID or whatever are very, very slim when you hit that point. Now, not a lot of people know that. I had no idea about that. So that's what Aaron Rodgers was trying to do. And he got tested before the season started. They test you at your facility. He didn't reach those numbers. Then the NFL and Green Bay both knew he's considered as the unvaccinated player. There was no lie from Aaron Rodgers. Everyone heard him immunized and thought vaccinated. It's not the same thing. I believe he also knew what she did, that if he said he wasn't vaxxed, he would get killed by the media, and he's being killed for this. And I don't blame him. Getting the vaccination is not a team decision. Getting the vaccination is not a decision to take lightly. What you put in your body is your decision. Now, I get there's consequences to not getting vaccinated. I understand that. But I think for us regular folks, me, you, Jeff, the media who doesn't play sports, they just talk on the microphone, to bash a guy, call him a bad leader because he didn't take the vaccine is outright ridiculous. And I think for us to hold those athletes that play just because they play sports on our teams for our entertainment, right? They play it for a living because they can, right? For the money, for the love of the game, yada, yada, yada. We watch it because we love the game. But for us to have any expectations to tell someone or have expectations of our team to all be vaccinated is ridiculous. That's how I feel about it. I'm not saying the vaccine's bull crap. This is not a political thing. This is a medical issue. Aaron Rodgers also stated in his talks, if you go to the CDC and do your research on the COVID vaccinations, Aaron Rodgers is allergic to the mRNA vaccines. That cancels out the two. He said that canceled out two right away, and all he had left was the Johnson & Johnson shot. And we've heard reports of people having blood clots. He did not want to do that either. So he did what he thought was right. There was no deception between him and NFL and the Green Bay Packers. They knew he was unvaccinated. Now, my other question about this too is if the NFL noticed him doing press conferences without a mask, if they knew this stuff was going on before this happened, before he got COVID, why were they not finding him then, Jeff? Why were they not stepping in and saying, hey, next time you don't do this, we're going to fine you?
Because this is what the NFL does, though. Like, they do it with the emails, they do it with other stuff, they do it with concussions. Everything's just like, well, he's kind of a marketable guy on a storied franchise. We're not going to say anything until someone finds out, and then we will say something. And so that's kind of what it is. It's like the kid running around, and he grabbed 2 cookies before dinner, and you're like, what are you doing? And he's got it behind his back, and he's like, nothing. And you're like, yeah, but behind your back, you have something. No, I don't. And then you're like, but you have cookie on your mouth. Oh, well, yeah, I did. I got cookie. And, and then that's the NFL. It's what the NFL does. And so, like my stance on this is different. I think like ultimately, when you work for an organization, it's no different than like when my dad works for a construction site, which my dad is in construction, and he has to go by OSHA protocol all the time. Without that protocol, people get injured, people get, something will happen. And if the NFL came out with a protocol, you are technically employed when you step on that field. So whatever protocol they have, even when the preseason starts, you're working at that point, and you're making a lot of money doing so, more than anybody will ever see in their entire life. And so ultimately it's kind of like whenever people get mad about paparazzi, right? Or or something like that, whenever celebrities are like, can't they just leave me alone? You kind of signed up for it. So it's just kind of like, I can't sit there and be like, that's horrible because someone's chasing that person with a camera. I mean, you're a celebrity. That's going to happen. That's part of the game. You don't really have that autonomy anymore. And so like when it comes to this, it's kind of like, if the NFL talked to the Players Association, a Players Association talked with the players themselves, and they came up with some kind of agreement, that's the agreement. Now, if there's a medical issue where it's like, oh, hey, I take something that's going to counteract with this or whatever, great. Ultimately, when it comes to this particular thing, it's not going anywhere. It will be around way past the time me and Brian will be alive. We will be dead. This virus will still be here. And maybe even different variances of this virus. It's not like the flu virus went away and we don't have it anymore. We still deal with it today. We still deal with Ebola today. We still with the bubonic plague still around. You just don't hear about it a lot, but at some point, whether it's in pill form or something, somebody will end up getting this at some point, at any point. It doesn't really matter, and we'll end up having to take something over the counter because eventually it won't be in shop form. And that's that. Like, what are you going to do? Like, is it very possible in 10 years I get a variation of COVID? Sure. There's nothing I could do about it. It's not going anywhere. It's a virus. Once it's here, it's here. Like, and that's it. It just like Zika is here. Just like, every single time, every summer in Texas, you hear about West Nile every summer. And so it's just like, it's here. You're if at some point you might get it, at some point you might not. But you don't really know. And I know Aaron Rodgers is saying that stuff now, but at some point, it's very possible that he could end up getting it. And at that point, maybe there is something that's not RNA version of that, whether it's in a pill form or something like that. And then he takes it and he feels like crap for 2 days and he's past it. So I don't know.
I'm not going after the NFL's COVID rules. I understand.
Right.
You sign up for a job,
right?
And they have rules. And if you don't want to follow those rules, well, then you find a different job.
Right.
Mine is just the armchair GMs, we like to call them, who are such an uproar. I'm like, it's his decision.
Right. But I think if he's like a regular civilian, right? Like when you're talking about us, right? We don't work for the NFL. We're not a player. My job in particular is like, if you have gotten the vaccine, just let's see the card and we're good. And that's all we need to know. We don't care. If you didn't, then put a mask on. So it's just kind of like, okay, cool. Whatever. It is what it is. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to protect, and it's a small business. So if anything ever happened there, they would be destroyed. So it's just like, if you had even half the people in that building out sick, then they're not going to make a lot of money, and they probably could go under. But so it's just kind of like, I think from a civilian perspective, we're looking at it and going, okay, yeah, if I don't want to, I don't have to worry. I'm not under contract, because what they do is, when you're in the NFL, can you get on a scooter or a motorcycle under contract?
Oh, it depends.
It depends.
It does depend. If those aren't in every contract, Jeff. Those are.
I get it. But do you have to? What if you?
Have a clause? If you have a clause that says you cannot drive a motorcycle, and you get in a motorcycle and you get in a wreck, well, you're no longer liable to pay that player. It's not narrow. It's not in all their contracts. I
Right.
see. I know where you're going with it though.
So imagine that, and it's like, I get it, but when these guys are in season, whether they're at home or not, I think there's some accountability for them to know that I get it that I'm home. I get it that there's no game on right now and maybe we're in a bye week, but I still got to play next week. But we still are in a contention for a championship, that we still are probably going to be in the playoffs. So it's not like I can just, it's not like I have my, I'm a civilian right now, because technically once that season starts, once that preseason and off season starts, it's go like from there. And I think it's a little different. Maybe when the off season and there's no preseason or anything out, maybe I can see him being a civilian, but you're still under contract. It's a tightrope to walk.
To me, the only difference that brings anything towards Green Bay is he either misses 5 if he's vaccinated 5 days, or he misses 10 days if he's unvaccinated. That's it.
Right.
That's all. As a fan, that's all that matters. He'll miss this week. He might miss Seattle game. That's 2 weeks. We'll deal with it. We'll move on.
But the fact that he has it, he is contagious.
Well, I mean, if you
So
have it,
it's I
that's
get
what the 10 days is for,
Right.
and then he'll come back and
that's
we'll move on. I'll move on
yeah,
from it.
yeah,
I think
and
this is a story that's just it's a hot topic in America, and it's just a story that's overblown because
I don't think it has anything to do with
quarterback.
his on the field leadership. That's a little extreme.
Yeah.
But
that's my issue.
Does it look at it? See if so from my perspective, I look at it like, oh well, if it was me, right? Okay, if it was me, I'd look at it and like, I know we're in contention. I'm not going to jeopardize this. I don't want to miss a game and possibly lose to a team I know we can beat, which is probably going to happen this week. I'd rather not, actually. So let's just get it over with. And if I get it, then great, whatever. If I get COVID, then there's nothing I can do. But he did all these steps to help him not get it, but he got it. So it's just kind of like, and he's contagious. So
a vaccinated person can get COVID.
Right, exactly. So I don't know I know that he was allergic to it, but it's like you took all these steps, but ultimately you still got it. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
I see it as 5 more days. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll move on from it. We'll still win our division.
If it happens again,
playoffs.
Then it's like,
But people and NFL said he's not going to be suspended. He may be fine. Green Bay may be fine. It is
Probably.
what it is. But I'm like, you think because people are like, oh, they're going to suspend him for the rest of the season. I'm like, you think they're going to pit one of their most marketable quarterbacks and pit him on the shelf for next year? That ain't
the rest of the season. No, that's stupid.
All right, Jeff. We'll jump into the next conversation here. Odell Beckham was sent home for practice a couple days in a row after his father, the day before the deadline, his father released a video of his quarterback not throwing him the football. The Odell Beckham was released then by the Browns. They moved a lot of money around into a signing bonus, so they would save him some cap space, and they let him go. He's got to go to the wire through the waiver wire. And where do we think he goes? Where do we think? Name a couple teams that you think he goes. I'd like to see him in Green Bay, in my opinion. I think Baltimore is a good choice. Maybe Oakland. They're still in contention, so I could see those 3 teams. I don't know if anybody else. That someone said the Patriots the other day. I'm like, they're not. Bill Belichick's not signing up for that.
No.
So
he just got rid of a drama queen. Why do you want another one? So Dallas. Okay. You shook your head. You're like,
no.
Oh my God, no.
He wouldn't make the field with the 3 wide receivers they already have.
I do 4, Brian. Just go. So no, I say Green Bay. If I had to really, really pick, I would go Green Bay first. They're the ones that are obviously in contention. Maybe Cardinals. Because the Cardinals could see what the Rams did, and we're like, I see. Like, let's add some star power a little bit to this offense. That's already good. and go from there. I could see that happening possibly with the Cardinals. I could see Green Bay, and I could obviously see Oakland. Maybe Baltimore. I just don't know. I think with Baltimore, you have to have some form of familiarity with when it comes to the quarterback and his wide receivers. And I think that throwing a piece in there, Aaron Rodgers could adapt to anybody. I think Kyle Murray probably could adapt to anybody. But I look, and then that's even with Oakland, I think Carr could. But I think when it comes to oh my gosh, what's the quarterback's name for the Ravens? It's like
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. When it comes to Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson needs to have like rapport already, familiarity already. And I think adding a new wide receiver that maybe maybe timing and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. But it seems like Lamar Jackson, when you start adding pieces, especially in the middle of a season like that, I think it would throw him off. He seems like he likes familiar stuff and repetition, and we already got the game plan going and all that kind of stuff. And when you change it up, it seems like he doesn't like that. It seems like he's not a player that likes that.
I can see, well, speaking of wide receivers and the Raiders, Jeff, this leads us right into the next storyline, the next headline, as the Raiders lost their star wide receiver, Henry Ruggs. Unfortunately for this lady, Tina Tintor, sorry if I butchered that last name, was the poor, unfortunate woman who died after being struck by Henry Ruggs. Tina was only 23 years old. She had her dog in her car, and she was at, I believe, a stoplight. And Henry Ruggs, former wide receiver for the Raiders, twice the legal limit. Okay, Jeff, traveling 155 miles per hour. Struck Tina and ended her life. And
how do you go 156 miles an hour?
How are you? That's not even my question. My
Well,
question.
I get that, but I mean,
driving.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like most cars go to like 120.
He was driving. It was a brand new Corvette.
Oh well, there you go.
There you go. He had his girlfriend in the car with him. Struck her. The lady, I'm hoping she went instantly because the car busted in flames. It's a sad story. I'm not here to talk about Henry Ruggs. I don't care. He'll face his prison time. He's facing more prison time because he had a loaded gun in the car in Nevada that adds more to his sentence. He ruined, whatever. I don't care about him. The story here is the poor woman who lost her soul. Our condolences go out to her and her family. Just a sad situation.
The NFL, and I don't know if people know this or not. The NFL they give every single player, a card. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran, doesn't matter. You're part of the NFL organization. You get this card when you get drafted or when you get signed to a team, and the card has numbers on them, a number on there. You can call that number at any point. They will pay for someone to pick you up and bring you home if you're drinking too much. Mm-hmm. How hard is this to understand? This is ridiculous. This is insane. This is absolutely and 100% pathetic that he didn't do that. Or that even the people that were around him, because you knew he wasn't by himself.
Exactly.
So
there's video of him at Top Golf before.
See, and this is okay. This is my thing, and I get this. I get people don't want to step involved, but this is what frustrates me about this entire situation. And it happened. This is not the first time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. When I lived on 7th Street in Fort Worth, okay, I would notice every Thursday through Saturday. Okay, every Thursday through Saturday, every night, 2 a.m., bars would let open. People would be scattering all over the streets on 7th Street and close to downtown. Fort Worth, by the way, okay, would be fighting each other. I'd see people stumbling up the stairs, going to their car, stumbling, and then not know where their car was. Like they'd walk and they'd stand, and then they'd look, and then they'd kind of topple, All right, a little bit like kind of wobble, and then they're like, "Oh yeah," and then they go up the stairs, and they're taking stairs. By the way, they decide not to take the elevator. So not only are they intoxicated taking stairs on concrete, by the way, but they're trying to get to their car, right? And what do I see with that? Businesses allow these people to drive home. You're at Top Golf, right? Is there not a person who is offering drinks, bartending? Nobody sits there and looks at that and goes, he's had a little too much. And you notice he's trying to leave and go, hey, guys, hey, we cannot allow you to leave. We're going to call you an Uber. Can you call anybody to come pick you up? And if they decide, call the cops before it gets to that point. If they're arguing with you, call the cops. The cops will handle it. Worst case scenario, they throw them in a freaking tank for 24 hours and sober up and go home. Like, no one died, no one got hurt or whatever. I do not understand this. I have seen people drunk drive, get in their car with cops on 7th Street ignoring it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you have 10 people you could have arrested right up there. 10. And it's just go. It's insane. It's insane. I've seen it too much.
In this world, this happens all the time. And the only reason we know about this is because it's Henry Ruggs. This is something for a regular human being, let alone a athlete or a movie star or whatever, is inexcusable. It's just inexcusable. There is no reason. I've never drank and drive in my life, ever. I will not do it. You put I've lost people I've known from this. That's sad. It's such a sad situation when that happens, and there's no excuse for it. We have Uber, we have all these platforms where you as a citizen can call and get picked up.
We're more knowledgeable about this crap today, and it's absolutely ridiculous that it's like, let's go a couple of steps backwards. It's like, why?
And I think that the punishment for DUI should be a lot more, because there's people that have like 6 or 7. And
It's a slap on the wrist, Brian, because it's not illegal. Well, it's illegal to drive and drink, but it's not a substance that's illegal, so it's not looked at as a bad thing. It's not looked at as, oh, well, this can alter your brain, kind of like in a lot of ways drugs can alter your brain. So it's just kind of like, yeah, you're not under. This isn't like, I get it, and it's advertised as like, it's acceptable. It's a 100% acceptable. So it's just, it's
in society nowadays. If you don't drink, you're the outcast.
Right, exactly.
If you don't drink, how do you have fun? Because I don't need to drink to have fun. I don't. It's called having a life.
Right.
I don't know. And look, I used to drink back in the day, but I still had a head on my shoulder and said, I'm not going to put myself in a situation.
Right.
There's
exactly.
no reason for it. And that was before Uber. And that I made smart decisions.
Right.
It's just I had good friends who would never let me do that.
Yeah.
It's just a situation that doesn't need to happen. And I feel bad for her family, and our condolences go out to them. And I'm pretty sure that they'll be getting a check from the NFL or suing the heck out of Henry Ruggs or whatever. And I know money doesn't solve it. It'll never bring that person back. But it's just
justice
sad.
has to kind of prevail in this situation. So, and I think it will.
All right, Jeff, we're going to jump through these next 3 because if we go this way, it's going to be a 5-hour podcast. As we talked about earlier, Derrick Henry suffered a broken foot. He's out for the year. Tennessee Titans are done. Jameis Winston out for the season towards ACL and suffered a concussion against the Bucs. And then also Michael Thomas, Jeff, has a setback in the NFL with his rehab, and he's going to miss the rest of the year. They thought he's going to miss maybe half the season. He's out for the rest of the season. You take away anything from that right there, any of those 3. I mean, we've already talked about Derrick Henry. Jameis Winston.
The Saints were. It's not surprised they were kind of. I mean, they're searching for a quarterback. I mean, you're talking after trying to replace Drew Brees, impossible. We knew they were going to have a step back. Michael Thomas it's kind of falls right into that same category. So in terms of Saints, it's not surprising. I think nobody even saw them even going close to anything at this point after having after Drew Brees retired. Derrick Henry, we know about that. That's not anything. We talked about it earlier. It is what it is. Tennessee's done. I think nobody's arguing that.
My hot take maybe it's not a hot take, is Michael Thomas won't play again for the Saints.
Right.
He won't be there. They're already frustrated with him. He's frustrated with them.
And I think the Saints. I think it's easy to say the Saints possibly are restarting. I mean, you kind of have to when you replace a legend quarterback like that, and so might as well just start, chiseling away at some of the fat that you don't really want on the team anymore.
You might as well start tanking.
Right. And it's just go ahead and do that now and pull the Band-Aid off. And eventually it'll heal up and you'll be in a good position again. So
they're in that limbo. And what I mean by that is they got a good head coach, right? They got a good defense. The defense is pretty dang good to where they're not going to lose games that they might lose without it. They have a great running back in Alvin Kamara. They had a wide receiver who was fantastic. They're missing a quarterback. They're kind of in that limbo year where they're still too good enough to say that they're going to lose every single game. They just beat the Bucs, right? It's like, how did you just beat the Bucs? Well, they got a good defense. They're good enough to where unless they just deplete their whole team, it's going to be hard to rebuild. Will Sean Payton stay there for a rebuild? Is it time for him to move on? I don't know where they go from here. Who's their quarterback? Is it Jameis Winston next season? Is it Taysom Hill, who they paid a hefty amount of money, or who? So it's a big question. They kind of remind me of the Denver Broncos. The defense is good. They don't have a quarterback. Where are they at? Why is it they're not bad enough to have the number one pick to get that star quarterback, or they're not good enough to win their division. They kind of remind me of that situation. They're in the worst spot in football you could be, and that's being average. You want to be really good, or you want to be really bad so you can build your team. Being in the middle is never where you want to be.
Well, get used to it, Brian, because the Green Bay is about to be in that same spot.
Hey,
they will not tank, Brian.
Hey,
the Packers will not tank. The franchise will never say, "Hey, we're rebuilding. Let's lose everything." Like, they're not going to do that. Here's why you don't do that. You lose your fan base at that point. So if you say, "Hey, guess what? We're blowing it up, guys. We're 100% rebuild." Guess what? The fan base is going to be like, well, I'm not going to fucking tune in. I'm not going to tune in. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to go to the games. Why? Who cares? And that's it. And it's like, you don't want to say that. That's just a bad word.
No one ever comes out and says, well, they might say
they won't say tank. They won't say tank, but they will say, hey, we're in a rebuild, guys. And
now,
I think
as far as fans, I think it depends on how much you love the game, right?
Right.
I love football. I'm going to watch my team no matter what.
Right. And
Baseball,
I would too.
The Rangers, that team's hard to watch.
See? You see what I mean?
They've been rebuilding through 5 years. It's hard to watch.
So that's what I mean. You can't, it's hard to do that and keep the fan base excited. So I think the thing is if you just, even if you're okay, you still have that notion of, hey guys, we're a couple pieces away. Like, let's just, calm down. Don't freak out, whatever. Who knows? Green Bay or Aaron Rodgers may go to New Orleans. We never know.
That could be. There was talk about Deshaun Watson being an option for them, but
it's weird. The Saints, I think, are a good franchise. They're run by a good coach. I don't think they're going to be mediocre or bad for a long time. I think they're going to be mediocre or bad right now. But you give Sean Payton some draft picks, and then I think he can build this team back up. So I don't think his abilities is as a coach is bad, and I don't think he doesn't know. I think he's a great coach. So I think ultimately, I think New Orleans is going to be a good franchise again in not so long of a time. I think in a short window, they'll be back to being in the playoffs, being a tough team to go against, not being a place you want to go play in because the fans are rabid. They're a good franchise. I'm not worried.
All right, Jeff, there's some bad news in that division, though, for the Atlanta Falcons. Star wide receiver Calvin Ridley is stepping away from the NFL. Ridley claims mental health is the reason and no set return date for him when he'll be back on the field. Is he going to miss the rest of the season? I have no idea. That's bad news for that fan base. This team's bad in general. But the wide receiver, that's their star wide receiver. He's the best one they got, and he says his mental health's not where it needs to be to play right now.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, this is going on in sports now with the mental health stuff, and
Which is fine.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If his mental health's not where it needs to be, it's not where it needs to be, and you need to take that time to get it right. And
ultimately, that's thinking team first, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, you're thinking like, hey, look, I'm gonna let you guys down if I'm on the field because I'm not there.
Right. He's
I'm not there.
Yeah.
So rather than taking up a roster spot for a guy who could easily come up and do something special, I'd rather just take this time, leave, come right back, and be back into the mix to where I can be effective on the field and for my team, and
I think
not a hindrance to my team.
I think this would be a bigger issue if the Atlanta Falcons were number one in the division and they were fighting for that.
Yeah.
It'd be a huge story. This is kind of one that was on the back burner.
I think Atlanta has more issues than just him. So
yeah, definitely. Defense, the quarterback, this whole team needs to rebuild, and they've held on to those players way too long.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is something that really frustrates me, Jeff, is when you look at the Ben Simmons situation, and it reminds me of it. This doesn't remind me of Ben Simmons, but anytime we talk about mental health, Ben Simmons comes to the front of my mind. And when someone claims mental health, we take that serious, right? Mm-hmm. That is something we've seen continue to come in sports. Players are speaking out against it now, and kudos for them. That takes a very strong person to stand up there and tell them that they've got depression, they have anxiety, they deal with these situations just like normal people, everyday things. But I honestly, truly think Ben Simmons is, and I know it's taboo, but I honestly think Ben Simmons is hiding and just using that because he doesn't want to play for Philadelphia. I think a lot of people feel that way with the way this offseason's gone, and that's the annoying part. Because when you want people to take this seriously as mental health, and you have gymnastics player, what's her name? What's the gymnastics lady?
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles, thank you. Not compete because of mental healthness. And you have Calvin Ridley say, "Hey guys, I'm not mentally right. I need to go get my mental health back." And you got that. You want people to take you seriously. And when people like Ben Simmons, and I may be wrong on Ben Simmons, I don't know what your take is on it or how you feel about it, but when they seem to be using it as a joke or a way to not play for a team because they don't want to, then that's when it becomes a mockery, and that's when it becomes a joke. And I think mental health is a very important thing, and that goes not only for athletes, that goes for everybody. And I think we all go through depression in our lives, or we go through different things. My wife has anxiety. I've never had anxiety. Like, I get anxious about some things, but I don't have anxiety where it's crippling. So those are in everyone's lives. And mental health is a very serious issue. And we as a society now are accepting that, right? We're accepting the mental health, and we're opening up and talking about it more. And it's become more of a platform where people can come out and, and talk about those things and stand by each other and support each other. Instead of like a couple generations ago or whatever, you come out and say you got mental health issues, you were looked at as, especially at sports, you were looked at as soft and weak and looked down upon because of that. Now we've come out as a society where it's not. We all go through these problems, and I think it takes a strong person. Calvin Ridley, I think it takes a strong person to sit here and say, "I'm not ready, guys. I'm sorry." It takes a strong person to come out and talk about those things and admit you have some issues mentally, whether it be depression or whatever you're dealing with. That takes courage. It takes strength. I'm sure his Atlanta Falcons teammates are standing up for him and saying, "No, take your time. Come back when you're ready." And to have people out there who to kind of hide behind that is really frustrating for those that do really have those issues and struggle with those things. But and I may be wrong. Ben Simmons might get diagnosed with something, and I'll come on here and I'll eat my crow and I'll tell you my bad and I'll apologize. But I just wanted to that always makes me think of Ben Simmons and his whole situation is still going on there, and he's been cleared to play by Philadelphia, and they're still they're going back to finding him money and everything. So that's a situation there. But anyways, going forward, do you have any feelings towards the Ben Simmons situation? Am I totally off on that, or
seems a little suspect? So I don't, I look at it like, I don't know, like if it's true, then we'll know. If it's not, then it's shame on him, because people do have to go through things like that all the time. But I don't want people to assume because there's one bad apple in the mix that anytime someone says anything like that, it's completely false, because that would be disservice to the other people that go through it, millions and millions of people that go through it every day. So
it's the same thing with the sexual assault.
Yeah.
You have these, you have some women that, or I've never heard a man's case where they say sexual assault and
some of them are
wrong.
Men.
I mean, some of them, yes. No, I'm not. It's just that you have some people.
Penn State.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well. Yeah. That's a whole other thing there. But and when you have stories where they're fake, it makes us think, oh, or is this one real? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it just sucks when people don't tell the truth, and when people hide behind something, or someone claims sexual assault in a situation and it ruins someone's life, and it was never happened. And but anyways, Jeff, let's get on to something else. And speaking of Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves has knocked off the Astros in 6 games the other night and win the World Series. And my goodness, can we give them a good round of applause? No one wants the Astros to win ever, because they're cheaters. And we're never going to let that go, Jeff. And it's funny because I was taking my kids trick-or-treating the other night, and I ran into a new neighbor down the street that just moved in, and he's an Astros fan. And I'm like, I had to bite my tongue because I didn't want to say something that would make him mad or offend them. But I'm like, I'm going for the Braves, just so you know. And I not let alone that. Look, this is the first Braves championship since 1995. I'm happy for them, and I talked about this a little bit ago. When I have MLB The Show, I select an AL team and an NL team to play the season with, and I selected the Braves. I thought the talent was good, and I played them, and I liked the team. But I'm glad they won. I'm happy Ron Washington, was their bench coach. And shut up, Jeff. So Ron Washington was our head coach when we failed twice in the World Series. here and with the Texas Rangers, and I'm happy he finally got his. He is the most successful Texas Ranger coach in the history of the Texas Rangers. We just didn't get the job done in the championship. Shut up, Jeff. But I'm glad for him to finally win one, and just congratulations to the Atlanta Braves. I think it's fantastic to see this team, Jeff. They came in with the least amount of wins in the playoffs. No one was considering this team. They took down the Giants, not the Giants. Well, they took down the giant of the Dodgers, who won 106 games. We projected that the Dodgers and Astros would go to the World Series. We were wrong, thank gosh. I always think it's great to see.
They're still projecting that.
Yeah, next season, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I think it's great to see different championships, different teams win championships. It makes it interesting, and that's in every sport. So kudos to them. Congratulations, and congratulations, Ron Washington, in this team.
Yeah, I don't. It's two of the teams I did not want to see win. Didn't see Boston win, obviously, and I didn't. Well, three. I didn't see Boston win. I didn't see Tampa Bay win. I didn't see Houston win, and I'm good.
Jeff is a Yankees fan. If you guys didn't know that
Tampa is what everyone thought they were. Boston caught lightning in a bottle.
Hey, you have to eat some crow. You said they weren't going to do anything this season.
And okay, so this year Boston, they pretty much snuck in there and beat Tampa Bay. Nobody thought that. Tampa Bay was killing it all year. They were winning the division by a landslide, and then Boston all year was like this roller coaster. It was like, oh, we're gonna win 10 games and then we're gonna lose 12, and it was just like, and think about this. This is how crazy the American League is. The Yankees went in there and swept Boston twice towards the end of the season. Not only that, we swept Houston. So that's kind of the American League in a nutshell. Flip a coin, it could have been anybody.
Well,
could have been anybody.
That's why you play to get in the playoffs, right? Just
right.
Give us a chance, and
right.
I think
there wasn't a clear cut. There wasn't a clear cut with the American League. I think Tampa was the only one. A lot of people really thought Tampa would actually go to the World Series because of the talent that they have on the team. But it was like Tampa ran into a buzzsaw, got in their own way, tripped over their feet, fell and skid. And then Boston was like, hey, we're on a winning streak. And it's just kind of like, then they did that and they ran into Houston. And then it was just kind of like, and then Houston has something to prove, because it was like, we don't cheat, and so, who knows? Maybe they were still cheating. So
You'll never know.
And baseball won't talk about it. So ultimately, it's great for Atlanta. Atlanta went into a buzzsaw back in the '90s. That was the New York Yankees. They could never get past them.
No, they had. I mean, I grew up watching Greg Maddux and that pitching staff that the Braves had. They should have had a couple rings.
Yeah,
but it is what it is now. And that's what. When we talk about being a realistic fan, and that's what I pride myself in being, because there's a lot of fan bases that aren't. But, each team's goal is to win your division, right? Win our division.
Mm-hmm.
You win your division, you get into the dance. And when you get into the dance, you have any opportunity.
Right.
Green Bay, we made that last time we won a championship, we were a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
Giants have won from the wild card position. The Atlanta Braves just won with only winning 85 games this year.
Right.
They came in, no one gave them a chance. It's getting into the dance. And a lot of times I look at it going back to being a real fan. If my team made a playoffs and your team didn't, then you can shut up.
Right.
You want to talk trash, or my team making it to the
Cowboy
NFC.
fans.
The Green Bay Packers making it to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row and we get made fun of for losing. Well, where did your team end up? So that's where I want to go with that one, because we get made fun of. But I'm like, at least we made it there. We had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. We had a chance.
Well,
we were in the playoffs,
and my thing is, anytime Cowboy fans want to laugh, talk trash, my father does it to me all the time, I roll my eyes. Because there's nothing anyone can say.
Well,
Nothing.
I'm not calling
So-
out a specific fan base.
I know,
here,
but I'm calling out a specific fan base because that's typically who it is.
Your dad is horrible at that,
I
Jeff.
mean, jeez.
I
So that's typically what I
But-
hear in terms of fan bases that like to talk trash a lot and never back anything up. Nothing. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, and if Boston Red Sox fans talk trash to me, I would probably be like, you know what, you're right. You've won 2 championships in the last 6 years. I'm not going to argue with that.
right.
What if the Cowboy fans? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I just don't. Sorry.
All right, Jeff. We told you guys this is going to be a long episode. We had a lot of stuff, and we went in through 3 of our headlines together with injured players. Guys, I know we're almost into our last segment here, but I wanted to tell you guys, thanks for taking your time to listen, subscribe, like, share, watch. We are now on YouTube. We are streaming every podcast show to YouTube. So you can watch us live. You can watch us after if you can't catch it live. And you can watch us on TikTok. I throw out these little videos here and there. We're on Twitter. We're on every platform that you can think of, guys. Come come listen, come follow. And for those that already do, I appreciate appreciate your feedback. We're getting more followers on TikTok by the day. We're just trying to grow the show, guys. So thank you for that, Jeff. What's in your locker this week, brother?
This week, I got some real cool news. So I did I think I was talking about this about months and months ago. I did this project for this guy for a production studio in Canada, and he actually, I had been kind of trying to get a hold of him because I hadn't heard where that project went. And so it was just kind of like, well, what is this? I haven't seen anything. And so I emailed him a couple days ago again, and he finally emailed me back yesterday explaining everything. He said that my artwork is now on the print publishing for the books. It's like 6 books, 96 pieces on there. I had to recreate them. And then they're digital as well. And he accredited me on the upcoming TV show that they're working on as well. So
Do you have that? I mean, can you screen share it real quick?
no, I don't have it on my computer.
Okay.
But anyway, it's fine. It's just it's pretty cool. It's on an IMDb crediting, so it's very possible that maybe I even get a credit when the show is out and they actually do roll credits. So there's a few of us on there. Me, a graphic designer, another lady who did the cover artwork for the books, and the logo, and the guy who created the logo. And so yeah, it's just super cool, huge thing for me and for what I do and my abilities to kind of create digital art and everything. So it's
That's
it's
awesome,
just
man.
yeah.
Congratulations. That's freaking sweet. I saw that you posted the other day. I was like, that is flipping awesome.
Yeah. And he's also, we're supposed to be meeting with him in the next couple of weeks too, so he can go over my wife. She wrote a script on one of her books a long time ago, so he wanted to kind of give his feedback on that as well, and that's pretty cool. So we'll have a Zoom meeting with him a few weeks and then kind of go over that. So she's excited about that too, and just getting an actual perspective of somebody in an industry that is of importance. I mean, he's a writer of that show that I've been credited on, and he's also a co-producer. So and he's a 100% cool guy. He's on my LinkedIn contact, so I'm connected with him on there, and I can email that guy at any point, ask him anything, and he'll tell me. So it's a really cool thing to have a contact like that, especially such a prominent studio that is working on a bunch of really cool stuff. So, but yeah, outside of that, Von Miller stuff, listening to people's reactions to it, listening to the news, a lot of heartfelt responses, a lot of heartfelt things from Bronco community, and on top of the fact that the organization itself continue to iterate he's a Bronco for life. So which is funny. He's not technically, but he is. I think he wanted to finish his career here, and I do see that happening, whether it's a 1-day contract or retiring of the number itself, but he will be forever, and he will more than likely stay in the Denver community and continue to help the franchise in whatever shape way, shape, or form, just like Peyton Manning does. Peyton Manning lives here, and he goes and helps the organization out and goes to the practice field and talks to players and gives them pointers and stuff like that. So I think the Broncos, if they had something like that, him and Von Miller both helping the franchise in some way, that's amazing. Then I've been playing more MLB The Show. Played some Call of Duty yesterday, which was cool. I linked up with Brian's account, so I got to get the Call of Duty, and I have not tried Far Cry. So I played a couple of rounds of Call of Duty, and then I have been in this kick lately of playing No Man's Sky, and it only happens like so often, but there's been a lot of cool stuff happening in No Man's Sky where like I randomly stumbled across this alien ship and I was like, what's going on? And I'm in creative mode. So creative mode, I can hyperspace, I can go through black holes, shoot across the universe to the other side, and then find other planets and stuff, like do missions and stuff. And I'm finding all these really cool things. This random alien something just came out of nowhere the other day outside of the one I already talked about. And I went through it and it shot me into a wormhole and I went somewhere else. I didn't know what on. It's funny because every time I'm playing it, I'm finding new stuff. And it seems to be like they've really changed the mark on No Man's Sky, and it's a really cool game. A lot of people were crapping on it when it first came out, and they were like, this isn't what we thought it was. And now they've gotten free updates, and it's gotten better and better and better. And it's a really fun game. It's a chill out game, exploration and stuff. You could do missions though. You can get into dogfights, so space dogfights and stuff. And you can also team up with actual players themselves. And go on missions to other planets and earn money and then like upgrade your ships and stuff like that and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, like that, and I'm going to try to play more Call of Duty and more Far Cry at some point soon, so that I can get into that as well. And then Brian will link up.
Are we going to game tonight?
Yeah, I say yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
And then I think Brian will link up with mine, and I've got a bunch of games. I got Hit Me at 3, and a tons of games. So once we link up our accounts, we should be gaming like crazy.
Yes, yeah, let's Call of Duty tonight, brother, because I'll get the kids to bed and then it'll be on. I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna stay up late playing tonight. So,
but other than that, what's in your locker, buddy?
All right, brother. Man, work's been extremely busy this last week. I say that every week because it just continues to get busy and stay busy, and I'm learning a whole new route this week. I broke down 3 times last week, Jeff, and made for a long week. But other than that, we got Call of Duty came out. I already had it preloaded, so I jumped on it the other day, and my first match, I had 23 kills. I was like, yeah, buddy, I'm feeling good about this game. It's way better than the Cold War, way better than Cold War. So I'm definitely going to be playing that for a long time. Cold War, I don't think I played that much, but I got the Green Bay game coming up. I'm really interested to see what Jordan Love could do, and I think the Packers organization and myself are going to be watching this game, and maybe against Seattle, because if Aaron Rodgers is out against Seattle too, Jordan Love will start. Kind of wondering if they need to extend Aaron Rodgers or if Love's going to be the guy. And I think that's what we're going to be looking for as Packer fans, is what Love has to offer. I'm excited to see him play. Now, look, yeah, I want Aaron Rodgers playing. He gives us the best chance to win, but that can't happen because of COVID. Let's see what Love has. And I think he's going to do better than most think, in my opinion, from what I've seen from him. So hopefully it works out well. And Matt LaFleur is going to have a game plan set up for him to have success. He just game planned us to have success without our 3 starting wide receivers. He'll have a game plan, probably with more running the ball, screens set up, maybe a little play action here or there for Jordan Love to make it a little bit easier for him. I really like Matt LaFleur. I think he's a brilliant head coach and what he calls offensively. But so we're looking forward to that. And I also have a project coming, Jeff. Not like a school project. I don't go to school or anything, but I got something I'm working on, and I'm not 100% on it yet as far as getting it done, but I will let you guys know what that is when it comes out. It's just a little project of mine to try and help maybe inspire people a little bit. So I'm working on that, something that I've been thinking about for a while, and kind of what I can do with it, and it'll be a work in progress type of thing. But I will let you know what that guy what and when that is up and running. But other than that, it's been just eating a bunch of candy. We had all 4 of my girls had 4 buckets of full candy, and then no one trick-or-treated at our house, so we have 2 buckets full of candy that we set out. I got candy galore over here, and I guess a couple dentist appointments set up for our kids because they're going to need it.
Brian's swimming in candy.
Swimming in candy, like Scrooge McDuck style. But now in a little bit, I'm taking them out so last night. So this is my wife's birthday month. She'll be it's her birthday's on the 11th. It's 11/11, so on Veterans Day. And so I bought her some tickets. She went to the the show Friends. I'm guessing everyone does. There's an exhibit type thing out in Dallas where you can go, and they have like a Central Park, or they have it set up to look like you're in the Friends set. And she went out there last night with her sister and bought some stuff and got to go. So that was pretty cool. And then tonight, she every once a year she goes out with her best friend, or goes to her best friend's house, and they make Christmas candy. This type of year they make peppermint, bark and all sorts of things. And so I got the kids the last 2 days, and so today I'm going to take them to see a movie called what is it? Something's gone wrong, or Ron's gone wrong. Yeah, Ron's gone wrong, and it looks pretty funny. But so that's what I got planned today, and then tonight we're definitely got a game, man. Vanguard is great. Go buy a copy if you haven't already. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and also people, the 11th is the GTA digital enhanced edition release. I'm looking to get it because it's just those games are so much fun, and I never really got to play them because I didn't have at the time PS2. I do have them, but I knew that this was coming out, so I was like, man, I want to get the enhanced edition of those. So that comes out on the 11th, I think. So if anybody is curious, check it out. Look it up on YouTube. It's pretty cool. They really enhanced the graphics of the original games. Now all the actual players have fingers. The old games, you got to understand these are PS2 games. So the old games, they only had these polygonal hands, and that's it. So look forward to that too. And yeah, that was one game I was like, oh man, I forgot about that game coming out. So
I believe the Stranger Things, is Stranger Things out of season 4, or is it
no?
Is it the
Next
release
year.
date came out?
Maybe it's the release date.
Okay, I thought it was out, and I was like, we got to jump on that because I love that show. But the release date did come out 2 days ago. I just couldn't find it. I was trying to look for it real quick, but anyways. All right, guys, I told you this episode is going to be a long one. We got an hour and 51 minutes rolling right now. So much news since last week's broke, and we had to cover just a lot of topics that we couldn't leave off the table. Tuesday, I'll give you a rundown of week 9 already. Week 9 in the NFL. I'll give you a rundown. I'll give you how I did on my predictions on the I'm still going strong, Jeff, on the Survivor League. I picked the Colts to win this week. They beat the Jets Thursday night, so I'm moving on forward as well. I haven't lost yet, so that's going good. The Bengals screwed a lot of people out last week, and when they lost, we lost about 5 people in it. So I'm going strong in that, and give you that week 9 review of the games. Going to be tuning into that Packers and Chiefs game, 3:00 this Sunday. So, but guys, I hope you stay safe out there. Have a great weekend, and God bless.
Take care, everyone.